Boris Johnson has clashed with Labour leader Keir Starmer during a fiery clash for his first Prime Minister's Questions showdown. The Prime Minister returned to the dispatch box for Westminster's set-piece event and came under pressure over his handling of the coronavirus crisis a day after the UK's official death toll became the highest in Europe. The Labour leader questioned Mr Johnson on the Tory government's response to the COVID-19 crisis and also pressured him to set out a detailed plan on easing the UK-wide lockdown. Sir Keir questioned Mr Johnson over the rising crisis in care homes, accusing the government of being slow into lockdown, slow on testing, slow on tracing and slow on the supply of protective equipment. Speaking about social care, he asked why hasn't the government got to grips with this already? Mr Johnson replied saying he bitterly regrets the deaths in care homes and said a huge amount of effort is going into protecting residents and workers in care homes. But he fired back saying Sir Keir was not right. He said, "In the last few days there's been a palpable improvement." It is the first time Mr Johnson has taken questions in Parliament since returning to Downing Street after his own battle with the deadly disease which resulted in an admission to intensive care at London's St Thomas' Hospital. Though more than 32,000 have died in the UK during the pandemic, the rate has been slowing and the Prime Minister is expected to unveil his roadmap of future steps later this week. Mr Keir, who took over as Labour leader last month, has called for Mr Johnson to form a national consensus on easing restrictions while protecting public health. Mr Johnson has not taken questions in the Commons since March 25 before Parliament broke early for Easter as MPs struggled to keep their distance in the Palace of Westminster. He returned to Downing Street last week after recovering from COVID-19, but Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab deputised for him in PMQs as Mr Johnson welcomed the birth of his new son, Wilfred. Mr Raab on Tuesday warned the next stage won't be easy, but he said ministers want to ensure it is more comfortable, is more sustainable and prevents lasting damage to jobs and livelihoods. The prospect of the UK edging towards life after lockdown came as figures showed a total of 32,375 coronavirus-related deaths across the UK. In Italy, the European country which first suffered an outbreak on a horrific scale, that figure stood at 29,315 as of 5 p.m. on Tuesday, but Downing Street has warned against comparing different nations' death tolls, with the true extent of the loss not likely to be fully realised for months to come.